Here we go. Yeah, here we go. Wait, take.
Throw. End zone. Caught. Terrence Williams. Touchdown, Cowboys. Tony Romo.
They go for the shotgun. Roger looks left. Fires it out there. Caught by Tony Hill. Touchdown, Cowboys.
15 to the 10, he'll score. Emmitt Smith dances to the end zone. The Cowboys have taken a 2-score lead.
Play fake to throw it out of the end zone.
Going way down the field for Michael Irvin, bumping and grinding at the 5. Oh, he's got it. Touchdown, Cowboys.
Over the middle, caught by Witten, who loses his helmet but still keeps going. A penalty.
All the pressure on the left side. He drops the ball, throws, caught, Witten. Touchdown.
Big opening for Tony Dorsett. Look out, he's got great speed.
99 yards and a half.
Dorsett down the sideline. Stays in bounds.
Can you believe that?
And
Short because they
99 yards.
Prescott able to get out of the end zone and now airs it out for Lamb. He's got it. He's gone. When he gets there, it's a touchdown, Cowboys. On top.
You want to know what an all-pro looks like? Watch Michael Irvin here. He'll battle you all the way down the field.
Motion on first down, Aikman. Harper. Was that beautiful? Touchdown, Dallas. Mr. Men on the rush. Pass is caught. Deflection. Touchdown. Cowboys win. Amari Cooper.
Throws it down the field. It's caught at the 10. And this game is over. The Cowboys win it. C.D. Lamb.
But no. But you understand, we do have one game left to play. Hey, fantastic. Every single one of you. I mean, I'm not just talking about these last 60 minutes. I'm talking about the quarterback schools, the mini camp, the off-season, the training camp, down in Austin when it was hot and you were tired, the whole bit. Everybody, you did one hell of a job. And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
Cowboys Nation, welcome back to another episode of Sons of the Star. Happy Friday night, everybody. I'm your host, Dallas. Joining me again, as always, is Cowboy Reg, your favorite Dallas Cowboys fans, and my father. So shout out to Cowboy Reg. We are live here on X tonight on this beautiful Friday night. So if you have comments and concerns, plenty of concerns to go around for this Cowboys team, trash talk, whatever you got, make sure to hit us in the live chat tonight. We are live and we are ready to hear anything you got for us as Cowboys fans. As we know, the Dallas Cowboys are 3-7 on the year. So we are in dire times here after losing their 5th straight game, falling to their in-state rivals, the Houston Texans, most recently 34-10. But before we get into that, Cowboy Reg, how are we doing tonight? How are you feeling as a Cowboys fan? How are you feeling in general?
I'm all right. Yeah, I can't complain too much. I've already accepted the fact that our season's over, so we're doing a pretty good job of staying in the race for the number 1 pick. So that's going well.
Yeah, still in it.
We're in it.
Oh man, yeah, it's a tough season. Look, we both expected a lot out of this Dallas Cowboys teams. I think most of the fans out there accepted they were expecting, a big season this year. I don't think we had Super Bowl expectations, but after last year's debacle in the playoffs, we wanted to be back there and we wanted to improve on that year. You always want to make improvements, but unfortunately, after 3 straight 12-win seasons, the NFL is the NFL. This has just been a bad season overall. Look, the Cowboys have played one of the toughest schedules in the NFL. PFF has it second out of the entire league in strength of schedule. They've dealt with so many injuries on both sides of the ball, including, missing their starting quarterback in Dak Prescott. So I can go on and on with excuses about how this season has gone awry. But the fact is the Dallas Cowboys are 3-7. They are well out of the playoff race. I mean, statistically, yes, if they win out, they could still make the playoffs. But, I mean, we're just trying to win a game. right?
Playoffs. We're just trying to
Playoffs.
win a game.
Trying to win a damn football game. And
that's it.
Right now, show me the win. Show me the win on this schedule. Because I don't see one.
Thanksgiving.
I don't see one. Yeah, that might be it. But hey, folks, like I said, shoot some questions or comments to us in the chat tonight. Can't wait to hear from you guys. But I guess we'll just get right into this game. So apologize. I had a scheduling mix up, and quite frankly, Tuesday night is when we usually record, and after Monday Night Football, I just really didn't feel like getting on here and talking about this team. But a few days have passed. We still have plenty to talk about. So let's get into this Houston Texans game. The Cowboys lose another blowout at home. They're 0-5 on the year. They haven't won a game in close to a full calendar year now at home. The last time they won a game was that epic
Detroit game.
Wasn't that Detroit game? That was a Saturday night football game, correct? In December, late December?
Yeah, that was around Christmas time. Yeah, Saturday night.
I think it was
special.
after Christmas. After Christmas Saturday night. So, man, it's bad news. And really, if you want to know anything about this Cowboys season, all you needed to do is see what happened before that Monday Night Football game when they were going to open the roof for the first time in a couple of years, and sheets of metal started falling from the sky. So if you notice, the title of this episode is "The Sky is Falling in Dallas," because literally and figuratively, that is what is happening to this Dallas Cowboys franchise. So they drop a big Monday Night Football game. This is one we had circled early on in the year as one you definitely want to win. Attendance was definitely a problem. I don't know if y'all saw the pictures out there from
empty
attendance
seats
of the
man.
Monday night game, but there's a lot of empty seats out there, and you could definitely hear the Houston fans. And unfortunately for Houston, one of the smallest fan bases in the NFL, I'm not trying to throw shade, but it's just a fact of the matter. They still weren't able to fill up the stadium. They had plenty of opportunity to do that, but you could still hear them. So it was a bit of a takeover, but fortunately, the Texans have such a small fan base that it didn't seem as bad as it probably could have been. But if they were playing a big franchise or a in-division rival, that could have looked a lot worse. But it was still bad. But yeah, I mean, Cowboy Reg, I'm rambling here, but what were your main takeaways from this game against Houston, this loss against Houston, blowout loss?
Well, I mean, number one takeaway is that they were in the game into the third quarter, actually into the fourth quarter, before they were outscored 14-0 in the fourth quarter. It was still a game. So that was actually surprising because I expected them to get dominated the way Cooper Rush played the week before. He played much better. He threw for 354, but I didn't really see that he threw for 300 yards until I saw the box score the following morning when I was writing a wrap up for We Like Sports. And I'm looking at the stats and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. He threw for 350 but he only had 10 points, so fumble, interception, a lot of check downs when it was third and long, things like that. Cooper still is not playing, up to Dak's level. Obviously, we know that. But I was shocked with how much the offense moved the ball, but it looked like last year's offense, right? They had all those problems in the first half of the year last year, scoring in the red zone. That's what we saw Monday night, was a team that could move the ball but not score in the red zone. So that was discouraging. The other thing that's discouraging is that Cooper Rush he gets to start another week because he had a decent performance. I'm just ready to just see what Trey Lance has got and just have fun with the rest of the season. Maybe they're afraid Trey Lance will win some games. That's what I'm starting to think.
I can't explain it. I mean, okay, so this is a baffling stat here. Cooper Rush threw the ball 55 times, which is, I believe that's malpractice. I don't understand what the Cowboys are trying to do or what the game plan is specifically on offense. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, if you didn't watch his football game, which, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you did, but if you missed this for any reason, you may look at the score 34-10 and say, okay, Cooper Rush had to throw the ball a ton. They must have been down big and they couldn't run the ball. That was not the case. The passing the ball, you would think with a backup quarterback, like, okay, we're going to finally establish a run. I get that the Cowboys have a terrible rushing offense. Don't get me wrong, but Rico has progressed during this year. You know, he has trended upwards. They name him the starting back, and they give him the ball 10 times for 28 yards. Cooper Rush threw the ball 55 times. Like I said, you're right, Cowboy Red. She went for 354. He had 2 fumbles. One of them was lost. One of them was recovered. An
2.
interception.
I forgot
And
about the second one.
They went turnover on downs 3 times. So they gave the ball away. I mean, really, that's basically 5 turnovers there. But
5 sacks. 5 sacks on him.
5 sacks.
Jeez.
So I don't know. I don't understand what the game plan is there. But yes, Cooper Rush did make some good throws. He could have had 4 interceptions in this game. If you go back and look at that game, Houston dropped.
They did.
From my memory and from watching the game, they dropped at least 3. And I'm not talking about, oh, they could have had an interception. I'm like, no, it hit him in the hands multiple times, and they weren't able to come down with more interceptions. But it could have been much, much worse. Man, Cooper Rush, in my opinion, and this offense has been bad all year. Don't get me wrong, but I feel that he has seriously regressed. Maybe, he's a backup quarterback. I get that, but to me, he's regressed, and it's time before the first game, and even after the first game against Philly, leading into this game, I was on the podcast saying, look, you got to give him one more start because he has earned that role of being a backup quarterback for this team. But I don't see it anymore. I don't think you owe him anything. And to caveat off of that, I am not worried about re-signing Cooper Rush next year. I'm ready to move on from Cooper Rush. And no offense to him, he's done a great job with this organization. But at this time, I think it's time to move on from Cooper Rush. I think you've seen everything you could see and watch from him at this point, and it's just not there. I don't understand the overall offensive scheme for this game. I can't explain it. I know you want to talk about McCarthy, so go ahead. This is your chance. Like, what are they thinking in this game?
Well, I said in last week's podcast, I said Jerry Jones doesn't fire coaches in season except for one instance, and that was a primetime embarrassing loss in front of Jerry, where he pulled the trigger and said, we got to move in another direction. So I'm looking at this 34-10. I'm looking at this fake punt. I'm looking at this 64-yard field goal taken off the board. And I'm going, what else does Mike McCarthy have to do to get fired? Because to me, he should have been locked out of his office on Tuesday morning. The fake punt, the taking the points off the board, what did you say, 0 for 3 or 0 for 4 on 4th downs? I mean,
I don't have the exact stats there, but they did turn the ball over on downs 3 times.
Okay, 3 times.
I don't know. I can't remember a time where they converted a 4th down.
But keep going. That's not even. You just look at those. Those are play calls. So you're not converting on 4th down. You're turning the ball over on downs.
0 for 4. Sorry, 0 for 4.
Okay,
0 for 4 on 4th down.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, not great.
That's Mike McCarthy making those calls, and we all understand that he's done at the end of the year. His contract's up, and Jerry will pat him on the back and say, "Job well done. We're moving in another direction." But at some point, the embarrassment, the sky is falling, the roof is falling apart. That's on national TV. Then you get blown out. You got, your quarterback's dropping the ball. You got linemen picking the ball up, trying to run. They're dropping the ball. The other team picks it up. They stumble, they rumble, they bobble, and they run in for a touchdown. This is the bad news Bears, man. What else does Jerry want to see?
Yeah. Right.
Mike's got to go, man. Mike's got to go. It's embarrassing. I don't even think he cares anymore. It's almost like, go ahead, fire me. I'm getting paid anyways. I know I'm not going to be back next year. Just let me go. His play calling looks like he wants to go home. So he's got his home in Green Bay waiting for him. His wife's there waiting for him. Let him go home. Send him home, Jerry. He wants to go home.
Yeah, I don't understand what would be the motivation for Mike McCarthy at this point. I mean, he
wants to get the pay. He wants to get paid.
Is there any possible way he could stay after this year? I mean, I know we've been blindsided by this front office, but they're like, I mean, Jerry Jones has shown to just totally go against every thing we could possibly wish as fans. But there's no way he could be kept. So what are you doing with McCarthy at this point? What is his motivation to continue to coach his team? I know the players have come out and defended him. What else are they supposed to do? Not really. I mean, Micah kind of threw some shade, went back and apologized. That's just classic Micah Parsons. I don't know. I don't get it. You know, I understand that Jerry said, "Hey, we don't want to hire a coach midseason," but like we've said multiple times now, just because you promote some guy and this team is so bad that look, you're not putting Mike Zimmer as head coach or Al Harris as head coach, and this team's not going to win out. There's no way. If they do, they probably do deserve the head coach job, but this team's not good enough to do that. So at least put some guy out there. Let the team have some motivation to go play for somebody, whether it be to, you know, pad their resume for another job or with if Al, as long as as Al Harris is concerned, I mean, I don't think he's really in the market for a head coach job as it is. But maybe that will help him promote to a DC. Hopefully you can keep him. But I mean, if you're going to clean house at the end of the season, a lot of these guys are getting fired anyway. I don't know if Mike Zimmer keeps his job.
He's on a 1-year deal.
I would if we hire a new coach. I don't see Mike Zimmer staying. And with the statistics on this defense, I mean, you can't really argue with that. I don't know if I blame it on Zimmer, but there's a lot that goes into it. But we have a good question here from Bulb_Coach Danny Dimes to Dallas. Thoughts? Might as well get into this. We're on the Cooper Rush, Trey Lance subject. Dak's out for the year. So Cowboy Reg, I mean, you seem to like this. What do you think?
Yeah, this is what I like about it. It's a Russell Wilson situation. The Giants are on the hook for like $46 million in cap money this year. You could sign him, I would assume, a Russell Wilson type deal, give him $1 million, let him come in and either be the backup or finish the season, right? I mean, you could sign him to finish the season for $1 million, and the Giants would be paying his salary as you possibly roll him out there on Thanksgiving to play against the guys, which he knows exactly how they play. I think that would make the Thanksgiving game actually interesting instead of what we're looking at now. You know, I've been joking about it, but I'm probably going to be true in the end. 9-6, 3 field goals to 2 is what we're looking at on Thanksgiving. What if you had Danny Dimes out there slinging the ball to CeeDee Lamb and, you know, just being on the field alone playing against his old team? That would be hilarious. But you have a chance to stick it to your rival in your division by getting a guy on the cheap and making him your backup, put him behind Dak next year and pay him $1 million. Cooper Rush's contract is up this year. Trey Lance's contract is up this year. You have no backup quarterback next year. Dak may not be 100% to start the year. Who's the backup quarterback? Are we draft? Because if you draft, let's say you draft Shedeur Sanders, you get him in the second round, whatever. I don't have a problem with that. Is he ready to start week 1? No way.
Hell no.
So who's going to start week 1 if Dak's not healed 100%? We assume he will be, but that's not a guarantee at his age, right? And his injury problems the last few years, he may not be ready to go. Maybe Danny Dimes could fill in for a couple weeks. You know, I'm not a fan. I never want him to be a starter. Don't pay him. But let the Giants pay him and make him your backup. I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm sure other teams are thinking the same thing. I'm not sure how it works in the waivers and all that, if we can actually go after him. But I think it'd be great. That's my personal opinion. I'm not saying he ever would be the starter. If he's our starter, we're in trouble. But this year, Cooper Rush or Daniel Jones, I'm not sure you can argue that Cooper Rush is a better option at this point. But like I said before, I'm not sure they want to win games. If they don't want to win games, they're not going to talk to Daniel Jones. Why? If they're fine with losing games and getting their draft pick that they want, possibly Travis Hunter, something like that, then I guess you got to just keep putting out Cooper Rush and losing. But if you want to win games this year and maybe win a Thanksgiving game or make things exciting, bring him in.
Hey, Bald Coach says, great insight, gentlemen. Have a great Thanksgiving. Hey, appreciate you, Bald Coach. You have a great Thanksgiving too. And feel free. I'm not sure. This is the first time I've seen Bald Coach on here. So if you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sure you'll be watching that Thanksgiving game. But if you're not, have a good nap during that Thanksgiving game. I won't blame you for it. Hey, Hot Take City, what's up, man? He says Dimes versus DeVito on Thanksgiving gonna be a movie. Yeah, I mean,
that would be.
can't
That's
argue
what
with
I'm
that.
talking about. Make it
I
interesting.
mean,
we want to watch.
Look, you want to talk about, make that game interesting. Jerry Jones,
that's
if you want to play.
That's what Jerry loves, right?
That's Jerry 101. You want to make some money and pack the stands. That's what the people want. And I thought you made a lot of good points there, Cowboy Reg. Real quick, Daniel Jones has played, he started 70 games in the NFL, 24-44 record. Well, that's not quite start. Well, it's 69. He's got one tie in there, 24-44 and 1. So that's 69. So he hasn't started all those games, but he's played in 70 games in the NFL, 24-44. Not a great record there. I'll give him that. 70 touchdowns, 47 interceptions. Look, we've dogged Daniel Jones since I've been watching football because he's a New York Giant. But hey, man, look, the fact is, a backup quarterback in the NFL that has started 69 football games, I think is pretty valuable. Like you said,
it's hard to come by.
Yeah, it's hard to come by. And we were happy about Cooper Rush having 6 games under his belt. A lot of teams, I mean, look, you kind of look at a Jameis Winston situation. And look, Daniel Jones, don't get me wrong, he's not a great quarterback by any means. He's not a starting quarterback in the NFL, but sometimes, I'm just saying, and who knows, I could be totally wrong on this, but sometimes it's a result of your surroundings. It's a result of whatever it may be. A lot of times, you brought up Russell Wilson. It's a great example. I don't think Daniel Jones is on that level, but sometimes when you bring a guy out of that environment where he's been under so much scrutiny, he's had so many problems, and you bring him somewhere else with a chip on his shoulder, especially a division rival, who knows, man? Obviously, the guy's talented, right? They signed him to a huge contract. They saw something in him. I'm not going to get into the New York Giants front office. I'm sure if you're a Giants fan like Hot Take City, you're going to tear me up about this, but there's something there. I mean, I've seen Daniel Jones play pretty decent ball. Can he play it for 4 quarters? That's a different story. I know the guy can't win in primetime. He's got a ridiculously bad stat in primetime games. I don't think he's ever won one or something crazy like that. But look, you talk about a backup quarterback that you get on the cheap. Started 69 games. I'll take that every day. So not a bad move. I would. Why not? Like I said, I'm going to move on from Cooper Rush.
If you get him on the cheap, why not? If he costs money under the cap, if there's something in his contract that makes the new team liable for a large percentage, forget about it. But I don't think that's the case. I think they can pull a Russell Wilson and get him on the cheap, and the Giants would have to pay, and it'd be under their cap hit. And what better move to make in the NFC East is to make another team in the NFC East liable for a cap hit of a player that's on your roster. That's the ultimate right there.
Yeah, Ryan Van Dever says Danny Dimes versus DeVito is the only narrative that would make the game watchable. Yes, it's very true.
Agree.
The fact that it's Thanksgiving. Hot Take City said, bro, if the Cowboys signed Jones, I would lose it. I know, poor Giants. I just don't. I don't see how you could lose in this situation. Look, the season's done. But yeah, I mean, going forward, if you get him cheap, you get him for near the league minimum. He's already getting paid. He's been released by his team. I mean,
right.
I don't see why he wouldn't take a friendly deal. You're losing Trey Lance. You could probably keep Trey Lance too. I think his stock is completely fallen. I don't think he's going to get the money he wants this upcoming offseason. But I think the move is, I mean, it depends on what quarterback you want to go after this year. I don't think this is a great quarterback class, so to say. And there may be a few guys at the very top of the draft list, but who knows, man? I mean, you got Dak Prescott in the fourth round, so weren't really looking for a great quarterback there. So maybe they still draft a quarterback. If you head into next season with Dak Prescott, Daniel Jones, and a rookie, I don't hate it. I definitely don't
No,
hate it.
that's not a
So
bad deal.
I think it's a no-brainer, but who knows what they'll do. It's kind of coming down to the wire here, especially if they want to play on Thanksgiving. I'm not sure that's going to happen. But another question to take us out of the Dallas Cowboys. Caleb says, "Can Oregon win the Natty?" So let's talk a little college football. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think they're one of the only teams this year that has shown proficiency in offense and defense. They've played some tough games. They've beaten, they took care of Ohio State. They struggled again last week against Wisconsin. That kind of worried me. But I don't, I'm not an
They got
Oregon
the
fan,
dub
but
though.
if I'm an Oregon fan, but I also want, if I'm a fan of an undefeated team, I want them to be tested, right? Not like an Indiana situation, but yeah, I think Oregon's the most complete team in college football. I don't think you can argue that. If they continue on their current projections, it looks like really depends on who wins the Ohio State and IU game this weekend. Will, I believe, determine who will be in the Big Ten championship game, unless anything crazy happens. But if they could beat Ohio State again, or even if they lose to Ohio State in a rematch,
They're still
they
in.
could have they'll have some home field advantage potentially. I think that will be the big determining factor. If they can secure that one seed heading into the playoffs, I think they got a great chance. They look really solid, but look, I don't think any team in college football has looked really dominant this year. So I think the playoffs are going to be great. I think they're going to be really interesting. And I think anyone, from 1 through 12 could potentially win this whole thing because there's so much continuity there in college football this year. What do you think, Cowboy Rich?
I think, my pick going in right now is Oregon. I think they're
Yeah.
the complete team. And even when they beat Wisconsin in a close game, it tells me that they're the best team because other teams have had bad days and they've come up with L's. When Oregon has a bad day, they still get the dub. So I'm picking Oregon going in, barring any injuries. Like yourself, I'm Notre Dame diehard, and I'm a cheer for them. And we're going to be in the playoff and hopefully host a game. See how it works out. I'm not having any crazy predictions that they're going to win it all. But if I have put money on one team right now, it's Oregon for sure. They're the complete team. So my answer, Caleb, is absolutely yes. They can win the whole thing.
Definitely. I think they're the odds-on favorite at this point. Hot Take City says, "Listen, my ideal for the Giants is to draft Travis Hunter and wait for Arch Manning in 2026. But I know this is a Cowboy show. Just had to say that. Yeah, I mean that's really the key there. We got this big Thanksgiving game coming up. Obviously, as a fan, you want to win that game, but when in the grand scheme of things, really the best interest is to get the best pick possible. I think
Dion
Travis
ain't going to
Hunter.
let him go to the Giants. Dion's going to put the kibosh on that. He's already said that he's going to control where he goes. He said he's a son. He's one of his sons to him. He ain't going to New York, Hot Take. He's coming to the Big D, baby. We already know it.
I
Doesn't
don't.
matter what pick we get. Dion's going to make sure he comes to the Cowboys. I'm just kidding, Hot Take. I don't have any insight on that.
Yeah, I mean that's a good move. I think definitely for the Giants to have Travis Hunter and Malik Neighbors as wide receivers, you got to go
Yeah.
feed. You just got to find
Hey,
your quarterback. So
Dallas,
that could be dangerous.
just one more point on Travis Hunter, Dallas, and Hot Take. No one's talking about this, but unless I've missed this. If you get Travis Hunter with a draft pick, you have drafted an elite receiver, an elite corner with one pick. You got two guys with one pick. But people have talked about that. But nobody's talking about this, the salary cap. You're paying one guy, but you're getting two positions. So now you have more money under your salary cap to go sign someone else. This guy right here, to me, he's the hottest draft pick in the last decade because it's a 2-for-1 deal. And nobody's talking about the salary cap part, but it's huge. Think about how much it would cost a team to have an elite corner and elite receiver on your team at the same time, right? Huge. We're going through it right now. CD Lamb and Diggs. And now we can't afford Bland, or that's going to be a problem. How are they going to fit Bland in? Well, you got Travis Hunter. You got both in one guy. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I mean, that'll be interesting to see. The most interesting thing I will look at when it comes to Travis Hunter is how long he can continue to play both sides of the ball. I know he wants to do that, and I know maybe his first few years in the league he may do that, but at some point that's not going to be sustainable. I don't know when that time is, but can he play both sides of the ball? I'm looking at. I compare it to Shohei Ohtani. Totally different thing, different sports. I get that, but there's going to come a time where Travis Hunter is going to have to make a decision on what side of the ball to play. And I don't know what it really. I think it depends on the team. It depends on how he's doing in the NFL. But again, the first few years, I think he's and I was saying this at the beginning of last year, and it was totally wrong. Like, there's no way this guy can continue to play both sides of the ball. He proved me wrong on that end because he's been able to do it for almost 2 full years now. The guy's just a freak. So
And who's managing that situation? Deion Sanders, a guy who did it in college and in the NFL, play both ways. So he's got the perfect mentor. So of course he can manage it, man. He can do it in the NFL. I have no doubts.
Okay, yeah, we'll see on that. We'll
No
get a little
doubt.
beer bet going on that one. I give it a few years, but
You
yeah, I
don't
mean
have to
that
play
the
every
guys
play. That's where everybody's
right.
missing the point. You don't have to play every play. So you play 60% of the plays that you normally would on offense and 60% of the plays you normally would on defense, and there's your guy right there. And whenever it's a blowout or one way or the other, you get him out of there. He's the first guy out. You manage
Yeah.
the situation. It's been done before. And I mean, the team won the Super Bowl. That was the Cowboys with Deion playing both ways. That's the year they beat Pittsburgh. Played both ways in the Super Bowl. He never looked tired. You ever see Deion look tired? Come on, man. He's running away from people. So you can manage
Yeah.
it. You can do it.
Yeah, Ryan Van Dever says, do the Cowboys take Shador if he's sitting there in the draft? I don't know, man. I have no idea what to think
Not in the
about
first round. Not in the first
this
round.
front office. They have so many issues to get after. But they've surprised us before. I look at them right now saying no matter what, I believe they'll have a top 10 pick and they'll have an opportunity to draft Ashton Genty out of Boise State. That's my guy in the first
No,
round.
I have no problem
But
with that. I got no
but
problem with that.
knowing Jerry Jones and how he's done us in the past, he'll go there and draft an O lineman. But that's another need that the team's going to need, as well as D line, potentially line. I mean, they got a lot of problems on the team, so who knows what they'll do. But I don't think Shador is a good fit because, like Cowboy Red said, you got Dak Prescott for 3 more years. Depending what they do with their backup situation, if they keep Trey Lance around, if they go get Daniel Jones, like we talked about, that changes things. I don't think the Cowboys I've been on this podcast before. Cowboy Reg says, I hate on Colorado, blah, blah, blah. I hate on Dion, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot to it. I won't get into it. But I don't have I've said I really respect Shador. I really respect Travis Hunter. They're elite. I just don't think the Cowboys, regardless of who it is, are in a position to take a quarterback in round 1. Yeah, I just don't
No,
think that they
and
have any
Shador
issues.
could drop to the second round. And it would be interesting if they get the guy they want in the first round and he's sitting there. If they get, Genety, if they get Travis Hunter, if they get one of those guys in the first round and you got your guy, and then the second round, if Shador's sitting there, you kind of want to take him, right? I mean, because look at what the Packers have done, and I keep saying it over and over again. Do what the Packers have done 3 freaking times in a row. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. This is when they drafted their guy with 3 years to go. That's where Dak is. You got to get your guy now if you want to follow that mold of developing your guy. And then when the veteran leaves, you bring your guy in, and on day 1, he's playing. He's not learning, he's playing. So I like it, but I cannot use a first-round pick. This team is too far gone to use our first-round pick on a guy who's not going to play for a couple of years. So if he's sitting there in the second round, I'm okay with it. I'm not saying do it, but I won't complain. I won't complain. If he's in the second round, and let's say you got if somehow they get Travis Hunter and his quarterbacks, they're sitting in the second round, you'd be an idiot not to take him, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be really cool. I don't know if that's going to happen. That's
I
a
don't
lot
think
of
he'll be
ifs,
there.
but
I think
I
he'll be
don't think he'll
gone.
be there. I don't think he'll be there. But Hot Take City says Genty. I don't think he's going to be good in the NFL. I couldn't disagree more. We're going to have to talk offline on that. Hot Take City.
I don't know about that.
I guess the only thing I will caveat that with is I don't think his receiving stats are necessarily there. I don't know what you mean by that, but I think the guy's an absolute freak. I absolutely
what
love
he
him.
means
I love him.
I was the same view. I had the same view a few weeks ago, and I brought it to you. And what did you say? You said, go look at his stats against Oregon. Hot take?
Right.
Do me a favor. Go look at his stats against Oregon. Oregon's number one in the nation. They're number one in the nation. Go look at his stats against Oregon and tell me he can't play at the next level, because he ran all over the number one team in the nation.
I think he went for like 214 against Oregon. I could
ran
be
all over him.
wrong on that, but I think the guy's an absolute freak. Caleb says if Genty falls to Dallas, they should take him. I think so too.
Yeah.
A lot of people out in Cowboys in the Cowboys media, the Cowboys beat, are saying they shouldn't take a running back round one. I don't know what they're talking about. I think Genty's a no-brainer. Anyway, moving right along here. The Texans game, it sucked. The Cowboys got blown out again. I will say, like you said, Cowboy Reg, this game was close. They had a chance to bring this game within 4 points. Brandon Aubrey missed a 42-yard field goal. Look, he can't make every field goal. And
he made it 64.
He made it 64. And the one thing I will note here is –
can't look at the stats, though. Thanks, McCarthy.
Yeah, so he did miss that 42-yarder. He slipped on that kick. And do you know why he slipped?
Tell us
why. Because they held the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight on Friday night, which messed up the turf. So that is why he missed the kick. So thank you again, Jerry Jones. That was not Brandon Aubrey's fault. You can watch the replay. His leg totally fell from underneath him, and he still hit the upright. So
that doesn't happen on natural turf unless the natural turf has been messed with. And that's exactly what happened.
Because you had a freaking boxing ring there 2 days prior, and that's what you get.
You had a bunch of dudes in there spilling their beer all over the place for 6 hours through the prelims, and then freaking 8 rounds of a fake fight. You got beer and sticky crap and who knows what else all over the place. You got indentations.
Vaseline.
You got was Diddy there? No. Anyways. Because that would mess up your turf real bad. There's a hot take.
So that'll just piss you off even more, because they actually brought that up in the broadcast, which I was thinking about immediately. Is why is he slipping? But
that was probably Troy. That's when you start cussing out Troy. Troy tells it like it is. Troy probably dropped that tidbit.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that was the game. Look, and the other main takeaway here, and this is kind of a preview for the Washington game as well. It's coaching, man. It's you're going for a fake punt on your first drive on offense on your own 30-yard line. You make a 64-yard field goal. The Texans have a 15-yard penalty. You're down 10 points. I do agree with taking that penalty. Don't get me wrong, but they move down the field and then are faced with the 4th and 2 situation with your backup quarterback. You're
that's
already.
They should have kicked it then, because it's like, the repercussions of getting stopped on 4th after taking points off the board.
The game's over.
But I mean, that if you're McCarthy, you got to know, like, if I don't take the points here, they're going to rip me to no end tomorrow morning because I took points off the board. So let's take the chip shot field goal, and at least, hey, we tried, guys. We took the 15 yards. We got stopped. It's 4th down. We're kicking. We're taking the points. He screwed up twice. He not only screwed up by taking points off the board, 64-yarder, man, I have a problem with taking that off the board. It's not like a 24-yarder and now it's first and goal. You still got quite a bit of range to go even after the 15 yards. That put him at like the 35-yard line. That's still a ways to go, especially with this offense. Then you get down there and you're in chip shot range and he goes for it again. I mean, the dude wants to be fired, right? Just let him go, Jerry. He wants to go home to Green Bay. They're waiting for him.
He could be a coach consultant or some crap, whatever.
No,
Mike
he
Brady
just
is
wants to go
doing for
home.
the Browns.
He wants to be at the Waffle House every morning talking to the other people in the city and, hang around and just talk about the old days when we won the title in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. He's got to go off in the sunset. He's got to be gone. He should not be a head coach again.
Yep. So anyway, moving right along, the Dallas Cowboys. I just want to put a bow on that Texas game. There's so much we can go into.
Yeah,
but,
we're done with that.
I mean, it's just bad.
We're done.
It's bad. It's just another blowout loss at home. And look, we got 7. Unfortunately, we have 7 more games this season, so we got to break this next one down. The Cowboys traveled to Landover, Maryland, to Northwest Stadium. I didn't know it was Northwest Stadium. I thought it was still FedEx Field. Apparently, they lost that contract, so don't know what's going on there. Thanks, Amazon, I guess. FedEx is hurting. Worst stadium in the league. 12 o'clock kick in Landover, Maryland. The Cowboys travel to the Washington Commanders. They are 10.5-point underdogs. 10.5 points. When is the last time the Cowboys have been 10.5-point underdogs to any team, let alone the Washington Commanders? I mean, that's just tells you how this season's going. So they will face their former defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, in a revenge game. They have, 5 or 6 former Cowboys players from last year on this team. The Commanders are going to be fired up. They have had a great season so far. They're 7-4 on the year. They're sitting in second place in the NFC East right now with, strong playoff aspirations and still in the mix when it comes to winning the NFC East. The Cowboys have lost 5 straight. Cooper Rush is going to start his 3rd game in a row. We got a lot of injuries to talk about. Doesn't look good. I don't expect good things out of this game. 10.5 points. I mean, Cowboy Reg, how do you want to lead it off with this game? Any hope for the Cowboys? What do we look for in this game? What's the storyline here? Anything I didn't mention?
Put the house on Dallas with those points. This game's going to be close, I think. They've lost 2 games in a row. Washington's not coming in hot, man. They just lost they lost to the Steelers at home. Didn't we beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh with an injury report as big as the one we got right now? We had guys out there that hadn't even played before, went into Pittsburgh and won that game. I don't think Washington's a great football team. I think they're a good football team. We're a bad football team. I see an ugly game. I see Washington winning, but I think that point spread is ridiculous. I think it's absurd. Washington has a huge monkey on their back in the Cowboys. The Cowboys have owned Washington for basically the last decade. So this is big for them, and that's why they're probably going to win the game. But I think they make it too big. They come in off 2 straight losses. They need this win a lot more than we do. We don't even care anymore. That's obvious. Players don't care. Coaches don't care. We're just going after a draft pick. But there's enough young guys and backups playing for Dallas that they're going to play hard. I think this game is close, but I'm not sold on Washington. I don't even think I'm not sure they're going to make the playoffs, man. The NFC North is stacked. There's all your wild card teams.
No, I mean, you're right. They're not guaranteed a playoff spot.
I don't see it. I think Philly's starting to run away with the division, and they proved it last week against them head to head. Jay Daniels is a great that's my boy Corey Jackson. Give me a call. Yeah, I'm not sold on the Commanders. Not sold on them. I'll pick them to win, but I'm not impressed.
Yeah, Mr. First Down says just keep grinding. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, you make a lot of good points. I mean, I'm heading into this game thinking that the Cowboys are going to get blown out just
Nah.
because they've just killed me. But you make a lot of good points. I mean, do you think – here's what
Look
I'll
at their
say about
score with
this
the
game.
Giants. They just the last win 27-22 against the Giants. The Giants just kicked a quarterback out of the building. That's the guy they beat. I'm not that impressed, man. And these
Do
fans
you
are trying to
think
act like they've been winning for 10 years. Get out of here. I'm done with y'all, Commanders. I'm putting Philly above you right now. They're all over social media talking crap. They haven't won anything yet. They haven't won a playoff game, correct me if I'm wrong, in like 20 years. So why
it's been a
are
quick
we
minute?
why are we talking? Get your nose to the ground and grind and try to get to the playoffs. But you're talking shit and you're 7-4. Come on, man. 7-4? I mean, we've had seasons where that's going to put you at the bottom of the NFC East when the
Right.
NFC East is good. You got a really bad NFC East right now, and you're 7-4. So, yeah, I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs, honestly.
Yeah, I will say to your point, Cowboy Reg, their strength of schedule remaining in so far is 24th in the NFL. So that's pretty favorable. 10.5 points is so huge. I mean, you talk about betting wise, the Cowboys are plus 420 on the money line. So you can bet $10 to win close, $42. So I mean that's a usually with the exception of last week's Jacksonville Jaguars in Lions game, when there's a spread this big in the NFL, your best bet is to take the underdog. 10 and a
Yeah.
half points in the NFL is like 45 in college football. I mean that is such a huge spread. And I guess my question to you is, does Mike McCarthy have any pride in, like, I don't know if he wanted Quinn gone. Who knows? And it wasn't really if he wanted Quinn gone. They never fired Dan Quinn. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah.
You can look at it as like this revenge game, blah blah blah, and that may be true. But again, Dan Quinn he was interviewing for head coaching jobs, not just in Washington and other places too. The Cowboys did not fire Dan Quinn. If he never got hired by a head coach, they could have potentially kept him. And knowing this front office, they probably would have, looking back on it, right? If
Yeah.
Dan Quinn never accepted a job somewhere else, I think they keep him. So this whole Dan Quinn revenge shit is kind of a falsehood because he took another job. The Cowboys never fired him. But does Mike McCarthy understand a Dan Quinn defense enough to get him at all with Cooper Rush and what he has?
No, he's going to throw a couple pick sixes probably. Mike
Okay.
McCarthy, he's not going to outcoach a high school coach. He's self-admitted he's coaching on a 30-year philosophy. Okay? This guy is giving the ball to the lead back 10 times a game. Last game, 10 times. 10 carries to your lead back. I mean, come on. No, he can't outcoach anybody. That's why they're going to lose. It'll probably be an ugly game, and he'll lose because he'll make some idiot decision down the stretch. And we'll go, man, that was a winnable game. Washington's really not that good. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But they got a better coach, Dan Quinn. The only thing, something had to change after the Green Bay game. I don't fault the Cowboys for changing things up, whether they had anything to do with it or not. He left, but they didn't try to keep him. Looking back on it, I would have, I don't know how you could disagree with this. I would rather let McCarthy walk and keep Quinn, make him the head coach.
Oh, yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
back on it, but it's
Yeah,
too
the
late.
only issue there is I don't think we were ready to move the franchise in a position like in the future with either one of those guys. I think we were calling
Yeah.
for, look, we got to have a new look here, and
Yeah.
Dan Quinn's done this before. He can get you to the playoffs. He could, he brought the Atlanta Falcons to a Super Bowl, but past that, he's been known to not
Yeah.
do well, and specifically against Shanahan type offenses. That's where he really struggles, and
Well,
that's not a good
I'm
type
gonna
of
I'm going to give you one more off topic, and then I'm going to shut up and let you analyze this game. I promise. But this is something I want
No,
to
that's
say.
okay.
I
I think it's good.
I just want to cover this widely circulated rumor among Cowboys Nation. Take it for what it is. It's a rumor. Jerry wanted to get rid of McCarthy after the game against Green Bay. Jerry was done. He ready to fire McCarthy. His son and Will McLean said, look, we are not going to be able to retain these guys. We're going to lose a bunch of free agents, which is exactly what happened. We got to pay Dak. We got to pay CD. We got to play Micah. We're going to have a rebuilding year. And if you fire McCarthy, and we know we're going into a rebuilding year, and we go 5-12, or we go 6-11, whatever, you're going to look like an idiot for firing McCarthy. Everyone's going to blame you for firing McCarthy. So roll McCarthy out there, let the losses pile up, get your draft picks. Now you're going to have money for free agency because we're losing a bunch of guys. We're losing some dead cap weight with Zeke and all that other crap is all dropping off next year. They put it in the contracts to restructure CD and Dak already. All they got to do is move their money. They don't even have to approve it. All the Cowboys have to do is say, we're moving into the void years with Dak and CD, and they're only going to cost a few million dollars next year. They got that worked in. So the rumor is McCarthy's a lame duck from the week one. They sabotaged him. They didn't sign any free agents. Now they have justification to let him walk, and they already know who they want. And who they want originally, and it might change, is Bill Belichick. And you're not going to bring Belichick in the middle of the year, which is exactly why they're not going to fire McCarthy now. So go on with the game. I know that's a lot to handle, but
no, I get that. It's good points.
It's hard to argue with that, but I've seen it in several different sources have been circulating this, and I'm saying, okay, I finally got to at least mention it on the podcast. I got to at least mention it because it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with everything in that theory has come true so far.
That's fair. That's very fair. Yeah, so looking statistically at this game, I would say the Washington defense has improved, but it's still not great. They're giving up 22 points a game, which is 14th in the NFL. 334 yards per game, that's 18th in the NFL. Yards per play is at 5.6, that's 20th in the NFL, so not great there. Third down conversion is a big one. They're giving up 43.85% on third down conversion. That's 26th in the NFL. Now, I'll give you this. The Cowboys are 25th in the NFL in that category, so that's not great again. But red zone scoring, they're 66% of teams, once they get in the red zone, are scoring touchdowns on the Washington Commanders defense. That's 27th in the NFL, so that's pretty bad. So they're also giving up 2.7 touchdowns per game. That's 24th out of 32 in the NFL. So this isn't a killer defense. They're gonna not have Marshawn Lattimore as well, one of their top cornerbacks for this game. So, but again, the Cowboys' offense looks so inept. I just don't know where to go with that. I mean, they're just so bad. If they could have a breakout game, this would be a great game to do it. But the Washington defense is still good enough to probably hold them. I mean, where they make their money this year has been that offense led by Jaden Daniels having, potentially rookie of the year candidate type of year. They're scoring 28 points a game. That's fourth in the NFL, 366 yards per game. That's sixth in the NFL. Fourth down conversion at 85.71%. We know that Quinn is very aggressive. That is number one in the NFL. So in the Cowboys are giving up fourth down conversions at a 68% rate, which is 23rd in the NFL. So that's kind of concerning. They're also good at third down conversions at 43%. That's number 8 in the NFL. The Cowboys are actually pretty decent in stopping teams in third down conversions at 35%. That's probably their best defensive category because actually they're 11th in the NFL in opposing third down conversion, which every other category when it comes to points per game, yards per play, they're at 27th or worse, if that makes sense, in the NFL. So that's pretty much the only category they are decent at this year, probably because teams can just score or convert on first and second down. But anyway, that might just be statistically inaccurate. Where the Commanders have really struggled this year has been run defense. They are allowing 4.9 yards per rush. It's 30th in the NFL. They're
Feed
also
Rico.
they're allowing 150 yards per rushing yards per game from their opponent, which is 30 out of 32 in the NFL. So that's not great. That's not great at all. So again, is this a game to have Cooper Rush throw over 50 passes? There's never a game where you should do that, but this is definitely not one you should do it. I don't understand why they are trying to do this, but if McCarthy wants to show up and actually take a shot at winning a football game, you establish a run game. Even if the run game is not working, you keep running the ball, right? You milk clock. You try to keep the Washington offense off the field, and maybe
More
Rico
than
can have a
10
breakout
times.
game.
More than 10
10
times, I hope.
times.
Come on, give him the ball.
But the issue there is really, I mean, this offensive line is in a tough spot. They haven't performed well this year, and they are very, very banged up. So not good. Washington also commits a lot of penalties. I will say that's typical of a Dan Quinn team.
Yep. Fact.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Penalties per no, they have not committed a lot of penalties. I was looking at opponents' penalties per game.
Well, they sure had a lot of penalties on defense last year in Dallas, and that was his responsibility. But maybe he's got a better defensive coordinator. So go on. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, they're only committing 5.7 penalties per game, which is 8th in the NFL. So that's
we
actually
do that
really
a quarter.
Good.
That's Cowboys in a quarter.
Yeah, we are at 7.6 penalties per game, which is 29th in the NFL. So not really winning any statistic categories, but again, that's really their biggest flaw. Their defense they haven't been world beaters by any means. Play a lot of close games, and rushing attack is where you get this team. And you could see that in a lot of their losses. I mean, losing to the Eagles, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bucks, all teams that can run the football. We are not anywhere near that category of being able to run the football. But the Steelers, they don't have the greatest rushing attack in the league, and they were able to get them a little bit. But I don't know, man. I mean, it's hard to talk about how this team could win a game just because of how bad we've been. But if you want to win the game, you got to run the football. You got to keep the game low scoring. You may need to get some turnovers. You're going to have to somehow contain Jaden Daniels. I think this defense has shown, and even in the Texans game when they came up with plenty of stops. But let's talk about the injuries real quick. That's going to be a killer here on the defensive side of the ball. Marquise Bell is out for the season.
That's
so you're
terrible.
losing, your top safety there. Other than that, on the defensive side of the ball, they're looking pretty healthy. I will say this. Carson. Didn't I do that? Kalen Carson, Deron Bland. No, that's something else. Anyway, Deron Bland should play in this game. So that is good.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That is good.
That's my guy.
He has been a full participant all week in practice. I would expect him to play in this game.
He's playing.
That's big. Other than that, the defense is, you got guys in the IR, but you get Diggs, you get Deron Bland, Micah Parsons is playing again. He seems healthy.
Good. Yeah.
So
I'm telling you, this game's going to be close. I'm telling you, I don't understand the spread. I think, and I keep looking at Washington, and I'm like, okay, October 27th in Chicago. Are we giving them credit for that win? Honestly, did they win that game on the field?
They not on the field.
Really, honestly, let's call it for what it is. They scored 15 points. Or I'm sorry, they scored 18 points, and 6 of those were a once in a lifetime play. Then they beat the Giants by 5 points. That I'm not impressed. And then they've lost their last 2 games. So, I don't see the spread. I see this as Quinn out-coaching McCarthy in an ugly game, and it's going to be close, and Washington will probably win.
Yeah, and Jordan Lewis missed last week. He should be back as well. So it's good news on the
That's good.
defensive side of the
Yeah.
ball. So, I mean, defensively, I think as good as it's going to look this year, I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean,
we're
what's
at least healthy.
that puzzles me on why the spread is that way with the defense being as healthy as it's been all year.
Well, the spread is this way because the offenses look so
Yeah.
bad, and specifically the offensive line. Zach Martin likely will not play in this
Yeah.
game. Tyler Smith is questionable for this game. I think he'll play.
Need him.
But yeah, other than that, I mean,
I'm
I'm
okay.
sorry, Jake Ferguson will not play this game. He's
That's
out with a
yeah.
concussion.
They
So
played
you're
the
down.
linebacker core played well last week, though. I'm surprised, but your boy Spanford, who you were big on in the preseason, he's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. So predictions, Cowboy Reds. Let's get into that. Real
Let's
quick,
do it.
weather report looks good.
Yeah.
59 degrees in late November in Washington. We'll take that. A little windy, but not too bad there. But go ahead and give your score prediction.
Like I said, I so want to pick the Cowboys. I really do. I want to pick them. I don't think they want to win games, though. I don't think they're serious about winning games. I think they're really playing for draft picks. Going to be close. Washington's going to have a little bit better personnel on the field, and they want it a little bit more. But I think they want it so much that they're going to make a couple mistakes. Maybe we get a pick six. Maybe Bland or Diggs take one back. Maybe a strip sack by Micah Parsons, and the defense keeps the game close. Maybe we're looking at a 17-13 win by the Commanders. Probably some fourth down where we should be kicking a field goal or we should be punting, and McCarthy gives it to Zeke up the middle and they get stuffed, and that sets them up for the game-winning drive. But I just think Quinn's a little bit better of a head coach than McCarthy. Probably a lot better, but McCarthy does have a Super Bowl, and Quinn did kind of choke his away. So we'll just say he's a little bit better coach. And I think that coaching makes a difference down the stretch. So I'm going 17-13 Washington because McCarthy does something stupid on a fourth down in the fourth quarter, costs the team the game. 17-13.
17-13. That would make it interesting for sure. The over-under is at 45.5. So you're saying hammer the under there?
Way under. I just, I'm not impressed with the way the Commanders are playing, and I have evidence to prove it. In their last 5 games, they haven't played well. So, and Dallas is going to be as healthy on defense as they've been the whole year. So I'm looking at I'm thinking they're going to cause a few turnovers, maybe get a pick six or a scoop and score at some point. And they're going to be inept on offense once again, but they'll probably get some points on defense. That's what I'm looking at.
That'd be nice. I mean, another key here is can we please get Kevontae Turpin the ball? I mean, the guy,
the fastest man in the NFL this year was Kevontae Turpin. 22 miles an hour. That dude's running like a deer, man. That guy they drafted out of Texas, was it Worthy?
Yeah.
Why isn't he the fastest runner of the year in the NFL?
Yeah, it's not getting talked about enough. The guy set the record for a 40 time. Meanwhile, Kevontae Turpin is on the field. Who cares about 40 time? Let's actually look at the advanced stats to talk about who, with the ball, with pads on, who is faster than anybody else in the league, and that's Kevontae Turpin. And the frustrating part about that is Kevontae Turpin ended up 3 for 86 with a 64-yard touchdown, but 3 targets for 86 yards. So
3 for 3.
What are we doing, man? Get him the ball. Why is he not in the backfield? Why aren't you throwing screens to him? Tunnel screens, things like that. I mean, get
slot. He should be playing slot
every snap.
Every snap.
I don't see why not.
Like when Brady always had his slot guys, right? I mean, those guys would go off, Edelman and Welker. I mean, they would have 2 catches for 14 yards one week, And the next week they'd have like 12 catches for 160 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, they would use those slot players. Mike McCarthy's running that 30-year-old offense, man. He doesn't know what to do with these guys.
Yeah, that's fair.
Kellen Moore is looking pretty good right now to me. Kellen Moore looks good. McCarthy, you're bad. When I start thinking Kellen Moore was a good OC, I'm starting to think Jason Garrett was a good OC, McCarthy. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's been terrible. It's just like clear, obvious mistakes. Yeah, losing Jake Ferguson in this game sucks. The only thing I'll say there is Schoonmaker ended up
Schoon played well.
Yeah, he went 6 for 56 last week, and Brevin Spann-Ford went 4 for 42. So he still got the ball out to the tight ends. I thought they played well. Brevin Spann-Ford, that we're big Spann-Ford guys in this podcast. That's the only thing I've been right on since we started this thing is Spann-Ford was going to make the team, and he did. So
and contribute.
Good on him.
And you know what?
There's
something to be said about your backup quarterback being comfortable with the backups. He hasn't. Yep. He finally started gelling a little with CD in this game, but right from the get-go in the first game, he wasn't gelling with CD. He's gelling with Spann-Ford. He's gelling with Schoonmaker. Those are the guys he throws balls in practice. Well, Dak is throwing to Fergie and CD and those guys. So as he gets comfortable with the starters, we start to see more production out of the offense. But I still think I like the ability to run the ball with Trey. And at this point, I just don't understand why he's not playing.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see because last week we didn't see any Trey Lance at all. Interesting to see if they at least put him in for some packages like they said they would, but who knows? Yeah. One more keynote here on the injury report. Brandon Cooks could potentially play in this game. He was a limited participant in practice this week. He's listed as questionable, but he could potentially play this game. They might be saving him for the Thursday game, but be on the lookout for that. Check out those inactives right before the game. If he's back, that definitely helps this offense as well. But again, it's really going to be the offensive line. Like I said, Tyler Smith is questionable. I think he'll play. Zach Martin is going to be out. He's not listed as out, but I highly doubt he'll play this game. Guyton is fine. Chuma Edoga might come back this week and play. He's questionable. He was a full participant this week. Remember, he got injured in preseason, so potentially move him around. But again, that guard position is going to be questionable, especially at right guard with Zach Martin being out. So that's going to suck.
You know what? He hasn't been right for a long time. I don't think that's going to hurt us. I don't think it hurts us. He never gets beat. He was getting beat right and left. They were showing it on Monday Night Football. Something ain't right. And all of a sudden he goes down. His ankle's all jacked up, whatever. I don't think he was right before the game. Something hasn't been right about him.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean but again, you got to run the ball. You got to do something on offense. Maybe the defense can make this game close. I got Washington 31, Cowboys 17. I just don't. I think they win and cover.
That's a lot of points, man.
Yeah, I just think it's a lot like this week or this past week where it's the defense is going to come out of the gate and play pretty well, but I think the offense is still so inept. I think starting Cooper Rush and what Mike McCarthy has shown as a play caller this year, it's just so terrible. I think Cooper is just out there and he doesn't know. He should have turned the ball over so many more times this week. I think it's back to the Eagles game where the Cowboys are going to have 4 or 5 turnovers in this game, and that's going to make the biggest difference. I think defense plays.
Trey Lance will be playing by fourth quarter. If that happens, the good news is we would see Trey. If he turns the ball over 4 times, I think they have to go to Trey. So that could be good.
You would think. But I think this is just going to be the Commanders going to be so motivated to win this game. Dan Quinn's going to be so motivated. The crowd's going to be so into it. They're going to be so ready to go in here and beat the shit out of this terrible Dallas Cowboys team. I have no faith in this team winning a ball game the rest of the year. So I got the Commanders big. I think the defense shows up for a little bit, but it's just not enough. They get tired. The offense puts them in bad positions with turnovers. They're not able to score. when the game matters, and this game's going to be 31-17. I was going to originally predict a 42-10 game, but Cowboy Red just kind of talked me into being a little more optimistic about this game. I think
Because of the
Clancy
defense,
did
right?
point.
I think the defense.
Yeah, no,
they're
I
going
think
to make something happen at some point.
I think with the Commanders being a very pretty bad rush defense, maybe they're able to salvage a run. I think if you get Brandon Cooks back in this game, maybe that adds a little spark. Hey, Cooper Rush is starting his third game. He had a few flashes last week. I would really like to see how Trey Lance could command this offense for a whole game. I know all the issues of Trey Lance, but at this point, why not? But as long as you have as long as you have Mike McCarthy at the helm, I think this team is just a sitting duck. He's a sitting duck coach, and I think that translates to a sitting duck.
He's a
team.
lame duck coach that makes our team a sitting duck.
I couldn't have said it better myself. So I just cannot talk myself into thinking this team can win a game, first of all,
No.
and second of all, make a game close. I think, the Commanders have so much motivation to win this game. It's going to be a celebration. It's going to be a celebration, and it's just going to be another very hard game to watch. I hope you're right, Cowboy Reg. Look, if you're going to have a bad year, the only thing you could fall back on is starting to play spoiler, and beating your division rivals is always good to do. You saw that in Cleveland last night. That was a team that played very motivated with a backup quarterback getting a huge win against Pittsburgh. Those types of situations will and look on that specific example. I mean, Stefanski, I would think, is in a similar position where you would think he's got to go at some point, but his team showed up, and maybe they just played for each other instead of the coach, whatever it may be. That made me a little more hopeful.
It can happen.
Because, again, division rivals, but the Cowboys usually struggle in Washington regardless. So, I don't know. I just don't.
But they
I don't
always
like it.
win.
But at the same time,
they always win, though. They always win those games.
At the same time, they've lost. They've lost
Dak.
straight. They've lost five. Yeah, it's really Dak owning the NFC East more than anything.
Yeah,
But they've lost 5 straight games. Maybe something goes our way in this game. That would be nice. I'm still definitely cheering for them. I'm not. I've said it before. I get the tanking part, but I don't want to watch this team lose 7 straight games. I'd like them.
Players.
If they lose,
players don't tank. It's ownership.
Front offices tank.
Yeah, that's where it is. It's when you're down to the personnel that you're down, you're basically tanking because you're throwing out third string personnel and playing against first string personnel because you didn't spend any money in the offseason and you got all these injuries. And who knows how many of these injuries they're saying, hey, why don't you take a little more time? That's front office tanking. That's what's going on. Players are still going to play their hardest. So they always have a chance to win, man. You're right. 5 in a row is a lot in the NFL. That doesn't happen a lot. Even with the worst team in the NFL, 5, 6 in a row is about all you're going to see. They're going to win a game soon. Could be this week. I think it's going to be Thanksgiving, but I think they got a shot in this game. I might come back to haunt me, but I think they got a shot. I wouldn't be shocked if they pull it out, but I'm still picking Washington because of McCarthy.
Yeah. All right, so that's it, folks. Cowboy Reg has a 17-13 Commanders win. I have a 31-17 Commanders win. So let's hope something crazy happens. It sucks. Let's hope the Cowboys can go out there and win a game in Landover, Maryland. But things are pretty grim. But hey, still have plenty to talk about. Let's see if some young guys can show up and have some pride, and maybe a team that's a little more healthy could go out and have a shocking win. And that's the type of win that, could really make a bad season a lot more enjoyable because of how big of an underdog you are. You should feel as a team and as a player, you should feel pretty embarrassed about being a 10.5-point underdog. I don't care who you are or what your season is. So 10.5 points is huge against a division rival. So let's see if the Cowboys can go out and somehow scrape away a win. But we will break down that game next week. Appreciate y'all tuning in with us today. I know it's been a tough season, but thank you guys so much for Until then, go Cowboys. Let's see what we can do on Sunday at noon.
Go Cowboys.